OK, let's go to Victorian Liberal MP, live in Canberra now, Tim Wilson. Tim, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So has the government, the Premier, made the right call here?
I do think the Premier has made the right decision. The decision he's made is based on respecting and trusting Victorians to do the right thing, to take responsibility and get a test. And one of the exposure sites where this person has been is in the Goldstein electorate at North Point Cafe in North Road and Brighton. So anyone who's had exposure within the time frame should go and get a test, as well as, of course, anyone who has any symptoms.
The opposition leader said overnight that Melbourne has not handled the international arrival of players and staff sufficiently. Do you agree with him?
Well, I think there's obviously issues around prioritisation and obviously around making sure that people come and arrive safely. And of course, what we've had is an outbreak. Now, whenever we have an outbreak, it raises legitimate questions about whether systems are in place to make sure that hotel quarantine is being properly administered. Now, I don't know the basis of those particular comments, but I do think when we have an outbreak like this, even if it is only singular, we need to go back, review the systems, make sure that they're being properly implemented, because, of course, we don't want to see a return to the situation we had last year, where for basically 4 months Victorians were locked down because of a failure of government processes to control an outbreak.
Are you glad that he didn't do the full lockdown, such as Mark McGowan did in Perth just a couple of days ago after one case?
Well, of course, we're always relieved not to be in lockdown, having lived through one and as other people no doubt experience around the country. But I think we just need to wait and see what's coming. When over the next 24 hours, we'll obviously see a spike in testing. We'll see where there's potentially any community transmission, and that should be the basis that informs decisions here on. OK,
overnight, Tim, Pete Evans posted a video on Facebook praising Craig Kelly for, quote, fighting for us. What do you make of that, and how much of a distraction is that continuing to be from the government's agenda?
Well, I haven't seen this video, but I mean, Mr. Kelly has been quite clear that people should follow expert advice and consult with their doctors around access to the vaccine. And of course, people should be informed by the medical experts and the regulatory authorities that approve these vaccines. That's the position of the government, that's my position, and that's his position as well. So Mr. Evans can say whatever he wants. We're going to focus now on the vaccine rollout, because what we want to do is get Australia as close to normal as possible, as close to best practice COVID normal, and that's where the Morrison government's focus is and will continue to be.
Hey, Philip Lowe yesterday has thrown his support behind an increase in Newstart. Is the government now boxed in?
Not at all. I mean, I said yesterday politely, I think that the Reserve Bank Governor has every right to comment on macroeconomic issues, of course, interest rates and monetary policy. I question whether he's exceeded his mandate by going to the specifics of one particular policy and what the government should do. This is a decision for government based on what we need to do to have incentives to get Australians back into jobs. The reality is there are plenty of small businesses all across Australia who are desperately looking for workers, and we need to make sure that Australians see their path to a secure livelihood is through earning a livelihood, and that's where I think the government's focus should be.
His voice carries a bit of weight, though.
I've no doubt about the RBA Governor's voice. He's got a hearing tomorrow, which I chair, and I'll be asking about macroeconomic issues and monetary policy issues, which are his area of responsibility. These are decisions for government.
Is $65 a day something that you would support?
Well, I've always said the focus should be on what we need to do to incentivise people to get to work. We have small businesses, we have farms, we have lots of operations all across the country that are desperate for labour, partly because there is no seasonal labour, as we know. But in addition to that, there are people who are looking for work, and it's about matching them up. So I'm quite proud of the fact that my first resort is not to welfare, it's to work. And I would have thought that the Labor Party should be the same. I mean, they claim that they're the party of Labor, and certainly that's the focus of where the Morrison government is, getting Australians back to work.
So that's a no? That's a no on 65?
No, well, what I said is where the focus should be, and of course there'll always be reviews and assessments about these sorts of proposals, but our focus is getting Australians back to work.
OK, I'll leave it there. Hey, there's a dinner at Wild Duck restaurant in Canberra, Tim, featuring a few Labor rebels. I don't know about this restaurant. Is it a good one?
Well, I think I've been to it once and I looked at the menu, and of course there are lots of different options. There was crispy dead duck elbow and of course dead duck elbow with mushrooms. I don't know how they served it or how they want to serve it. They may have gone straight for the chop of the head, or they may be going for the slow unplucking. But whatever it is, it's clear that there's an organised campaign to remove Anthony Albanese as opposition leader because he is now a dead duck, and he was clearly on the menu last night.
I know. Thought about those lines. Tim Wilson, live in Canberra. Thank you. Talk to you soon. The traffic is building in the Sydney Harbour Tunnel.